Hey, what's up, everybody? So, welcome to my daily show. And so, the main thing that I'm trying to figure out here, and the reason I'm doing this show is I'm really trying to figure out for myself how do I build the most successful businesses possible to be fired up as an entrepreneur and live a great life that I'm proud of. I mean, that's what I'm after here. So, I'm going to keep hammering that home and let you know what's working for me, what's not working, and how all this is going, new insights that I'm gaining, strategies that are working, that kind of thing. Because, I'm actively building basically 3 or so 8-figure businesses that I'm involved in one way or another, trying to take at least one of them to $100 million plus. And so I'm in the trenches with you. I'm trying to do this stuff myself. And so, one of the things that I'm always trying to figure out is how do I better spend my time? And so I've tried different to-do list systems. I've tried a lot of different stuff. There was an interesting comment made. There's a story out there that, Warren Buffett was flying with his private pilot. His private pilot was like, how do you decide what to do? Warren Buffett said, make a list of 25 things, then get rid of, focus on the top 5 things that you want to do, and then just get rid of everything else. The problem is somebody asked this to Warren Buffett at one of his annual meetings that I was there in person, and Warren Buffett kind of looked at him funny. He's like, I've never made a list like that. I've never told anybody to do anything like that. And so it's a complete made up story, apparently. At least Warren Buffett didn't remember it. And so not a system Warren Buffett used. He said, I don't think I've ever made any kind of list like that. Warren Buffett basically just shows up and gets to work every day. And I think there's something to that. If you look at like a lot of the most successful people on the planet, they're not there because they're creating all these detailed lists. That's not how it happens. It's a matter of kind of chipping away at it day after day after day after day. And I think that's really it. And so I've tried Tony Robbins' sort of time management system, RPM, I believe. I've tried keeping like Google Docs, Google Sheets, Excel sheets. I've tried only doing it on paper. I've tried having like a capture list, kind of like the getting things done approach where you have a capture list you're constantly just building. I've tried to-do list apps on my phone. Recently, something that was working pretty well was I would every day just kind of write down, okay, I want to try to build my businesses, help as many people as possible. What are all the things I could possibly do today? That was working pretty well from an energy standpoint. The problem was, and I started reading about this, like, what do other people say about creating to-do lists? And I started reading about it, and they kind of brought up a point that I started seeing myself, is that if you just write down, say, 5 items on a sheet of paper, your brain mentally wants to just check items off. And so without you even thinking about it, you're going to go after the easiest ones. But, there's not proportionally on your sheet of paper. Like if there was an item that's like super important, going to change your life, that item should be 10 times the size of an item that's just kind of a nice little thing to check off. But we don't write like that because that would be insane. And so instead, we're just checking things off as quickly as possible, but we tend to go after the easy items. And so I started thinking about this, and I was like, I think I can do better. So I started researching what other people are doing with their to-do lists and that sort of thing. And so right now I'm trying out, there's a guy, becomingminimalist.com is the blog. I think his name is Leo Babuda or something like that. Good writer. I've read his blog off and on for many years. It's been around forever. Very popular in the kind of minimalism niche. And he's got an article you can look up. Just look up like 3 list to-do system. And so basically just the idea is to creating a list every single day of the top 3 things that you want to do. I've been using that. I think it's been working pretty well for a while now, for months. Every single day, like before I go to bed, I'll write down like what are the top things I want to accomplish tomorrow. I think that practice, regardless of whatever quantity of items you have on your list, I think that practice is extremely important because then you wake up the next day. And I think there's a principle here of separating the doing from the planning. Because if you're planning right before you're going to have to do it, you're probably not going to be as diligent or as intentional with yourself as if there's that separation, because you're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to do this work. So I don't want to put the hard things on my list. But if you're like, that's tomorrow's problem, then you can plan those items with able to put more pressure on yourself. And so then when it comes to doing, you're just getting after that list, but you've planned it a day before. And so I think that it gets you to do the harder things better when you have that separation. But if you want to do it in the morning, you could try that as well. For me, it works better the night before. So big idea here is to write down your top priorities every single day. It doesn't have to be crazy. For me right now, it's literally today it was 2 items. I was writing this down last night and I was like, there's not a third one I really want to put on here. I have 2 big ones. So I put those down today. I knocked them off in the morning. And then I was just kind of chipping away at the rest of the things today, trying to build these businesses without any major priority items on my list that I feel like are just hanging over me. Otherwise, it's just kind of doing the work. And so write down the top priorities for the next day and then get to work. This has been working great for me. I know at one point Charlie Munger was talking about some kind of business coach person that their whole thing was basically just telling people to do the most important things first. And Charles sees this as Charlie Munger, Charles, my business partner, Charlie Munger saw this as a sort of self-reinforcing tool, because it's kind of like, okay, if you force yourself to do the hard thing, then you feel good, or you reward yourself with the fun thing right after that. So what it's doing is it's training your brain to want to do the hard thing, kind of like working out. It's like you at first may have to force yourself to do this, but eventually there's such of like kind of Pavlov's dog, this association with do the hard thing, get a reward, do the hard thing, get a reward, do the hard thing, get a reward. You do that enough, your brain ends up actually liking doing the hard thing, kind of like with Pavlov, ringing the bell. All of a sudden, the dog associates the bell, and they actually start salivating because they know the food is coming right after. So same thing for us. We can almost train ourselves to like things that we may not currently like now, like doing the hard stuff we have to do at work. So focus on getting at least a few things on your list that are important for every single day. And I believe this really benefits you when you do it every single day, which I do even on the weekends. But it doesn't have to be crazy. It can literally be 1 to 3 things. I think is plenty. Another book that came out was kind of called Eat That Frog, which I think is the same kind of idea. Basically just doing the hard things first. I mean, this is a time-tested principle. Another thing is that I've, basically right now have deleted my to-do list. I either delegated everything I could or realized that I'm never going to get all this stuff done anyways. And so I'm better off just focusing on the top priorities of today. Delegating stuff that I don't want to do or don't need to do, getting stuff done. If there's something I have to do, like today I had to go renew my passport, and so I'll delegate it as much as possible, but I had to go get a passport photo, and so then just getting that thing done, and so it's off my plate. So I don't really need a to-do list. That kind of, because they just build and build and build and build. You're like, I'm never going to get to this stuff, because there's always new stuff. Things are changing. There was a guy, Henry Singleton, who didn't believe in having any sort of long-term plans or anything. He basically just tried to show up every day at his businesses and make the best decisions possible. And Warren Buffett himself, the greatest investor in history, says Henry Singleton is one of the best CEOs that has ever existed in terms of shareholder returns. That was his approach. Show up and do the work every day based on what needs to be done. So I don't think we need these 52-page long to-do lists that we're never going to do. And so this approach, I believe, is kind of working for me right now. Hopefully you give it a try. I do recommend something that has worked for me as well. If you ever feel overwhelmed, write all those things down that you feel like you need to do. It does seem to help to get them on paper. I've literally seen myself sleep better when I got it all on paper the night before. And I believe Andrew Huberman has talked about this before. Get it all on paper, and then it's out of your head, and I've literally seen myself sleep better doing that. And so if you ever feel like there's too much going on, maybe you need to get it all out on paper, sort through all that stuff. Half the stuff you probably don't even need to do. Maybe quarter of the things you can delegate to other people. And then some of them maybe you do need to do, because you've just been putting them off and procrastinating, and getting those done is going to clear the mental space for you to do the stuff that's most important. So hopefully this helps you. These to-do lists, I've been working on them myself. This is what's working for me now, kind of this 3-list system. So yeah, hopefully you found this useful, and I'll see you tomorrow.